It's the regular select board meeting on Tuesday, August 4th. It's 6:30 in the evening. All of the select board members are present, with the exception of Tom, who I believe will join us when he is able to. We also have a town manager with us and a code enforcement officer. And I'm going to call this meeting to order. A couple of logistical notes. Just want to make sure we do have a very packed agenda tonight. And we do have bylaws that help control the flow of conversation. I'm going to ask when we open the floor to public comment, if we open the floor to public comment, that you identify yourselves. And if you're not from Wayne, please let us know where you're from. And also, depending on how the conversation flows, I will probably use the 3-minute rule and ask you to conclude your comments, and then you don't get another turn until everybody else who wishes to speak has spoken, or until we get to the end of that agenda item. So with that, we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is behind us. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any additional business not included on the agenda? Shannon?
I have one additional thing. It's a request to approve an expense, if we could move it down under 7D.
When we get to that point, can you
Yes.
I see you still open for additional items.
I am.
I sent an email last Tuesday requesting that we put a discussion of park maintenance on the agenda tonight. And I see it's not on there. I also sent a picture that included my dog.
I remember that.
Nice dog.
Do you want to do that tonight, or are we too busy?
We do have a packed agenda. Actually, what I would really like to do is start a practice of when we have it, items that are being brought up, to direct them first to the department head gatekeeper. So what I'd like to see is code enforcement things go to the code enforcement officer first, and then she helps facilitate, get it to the agenda when it's ready. If it's a maintenance thing, it needs to go to Shannon. She can help organize the maintenance requests. If it's financial, I think it should go to the treasurer. And then that way, the people that are the heads of those particular disciplines have an opportunity to weigh in on their perspective. They can help prioritize, develop their own work plans of work that they want to do, and let us know if there's costs or implications before we sit and make a decision as a select board. So that way we can all be more informed about decisions instead of having things coming that we're not prepared to talk about. So that's going to be, and things will go to the fire chief. So just try and control that.
Just so I understand, I sent my email to Shannon and the select board. How do I get the dead trees and mean vines cut down out of the town park?
Do you want to?
Yes, that's something that I can address off topic. Doesn't need to come to the select board for any reason. I do have an ongoing list from residents, and I will tackle that as we can.
Okay. And I think it'd be good if Shannon can come back with.
I want
prioritize.
I want a projection. If you want to do it in the town report next week, I want a projection on when it's going to be done.
We will
Been requested for.
We'll take that
It's
offline.
been requested for time, for a number of time, and it's time to see when it'll be done.
So we're not going to add it to the agenda tonight, but we'll take that offline, and Shannon will add that to the list, and perhaps next meeting, you can come back with a report of the maintenance things that you're looking at and any prioritization, and we'll put that onto the agenda. Alrighty, is there any conflict of interest on any of the agenda items from any of the board?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty, our first order of business is to consider the Select board minutes from July 21st. These were distributed via email, and there was an open comment on who seconded the motion to adjourn. That was indistinguishable from the recording. I don't think it was
I believe Tom responded back to that, and he believes it was Steve.
Steve.
Don't remember. Fine.
So with that edit, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to consider approving the select board minutes from July 21st?
I move to approve the minutes for July 21st, 2026.
Second,
Second.
I'm not sure who beat who to that, but
That's fine.
is there any other discussion on the minutes? No. Those in favor of approving the minutes? Motion passes 4-0. Next order of business is the warrants, and this one is payroll number 5. Now, would somebody like to make a motion to approve payroll number 5?
I'll move to approve payroll number 5 in the amount of $19,723.19.
And a second,
Second.
Steve. Shannon, what can you tell us about this?
Nothing significant on this.
Any discussion or questions about payroll number 5 warrant? Those are in favor? Motion carries 4-3. Okay, accounts payable number 6. Shannon, what can you tell us about accounts payable number 6?
So before we do accounts payable, if we could actually incorporate the requested motion to approve an expense prior to the accounts payable.
Can you tell us about this?
So for the requested motion, I would request to approve an expense of $2,324.88 for the Wayne Elementary School consultant, and to authorize it from the Wayne Elementary School reserve account.
I'll move that we authorize an expenditure of $2,324.88 from the Wayne Elementary School reserve account.
Second.
Any discussion about this? No? Those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Shannon, what can you tell us about accounts payable number 6?
So on that accounts payable, you'll see the Wayne Elementary School consulting for $2,324.88. That's the first we've received for both the month of June and July. Also Kennebec Valley Council of Governments, that was for their Household Waste Day for $3,938. The town of Wayne submitted 88 units out of the 376 that were collected, and that was over 5 towns. You'll also see 2 computer related expenses. That was due to some computer issues that we've had at the office this past week. We've had 3 computers with some software upgrades, and then over the weekend mine had added disk space. I was down to 0 disk space. So you'll hear about that probably again at a later time, as that was primarily a Band-Aid for now, giving me more space. But that's all I've got for the warrant, pending any questions.
Are there any other questions before we make a motion? Would somebody like to move table number 6 for us?
Go ahead. Will we accept the accounts payable warrant number 6 in the amount of $316,186.79?
Second.
Any other discussion? Those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. All right, next we have to consider donations to supplement the Lad Rec Center programs. Would somebody care to make a motion? That's suggested on the.
I'll move to accept donations in the amount of $2,540 to supplement the existing appropriation for Lad Recreation Center programs.
I'll second that.
Second.
Any thing to tell us about this, Shannon?
Just primarily donations coming through the kids' summer camp program.
Any questions from the board? Those in favor? Motion carries 4-0. All right, now we're on to old business, and our first item is the select board bylaws. Last week, last meeting, we made a couple of edits to these, primarily around the timing of preparing the agenda for upcoming meetings. And so this is just it's a second read and review of these bylaws. Does anybody have any concerns, questions, or observations? Shannon, you're looking at me.
I am, we're right across from each other.
Well, I missed something. MMA guidelines say do have fun in the meeting.
One of the changes that I noticed is under legal counsel, the chair of the local school committee was added. And I don't know that the local school committee has a chair. And so I had thought that it was just the local school committee.
No.
But I don't know if I misunderstood that. And I don't think I see Teresa or Sue here today, but I don't think that there's a chair.
Sue's online. Sue? Are you online?
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We do not have a chair. Maybe we should, but we never have.
And so are you okay with that language? I guess you would have to chair.
I'm sorry, I missed, what was that? What was the language?
These things, it just says that the chair of the local school committee has access to the MMA legal counsel.
Oh. Well, should we name a chair then?
You need to do that at a meeting, Sue.
Yeah. And I don't know when we're meeting again. Can we just say a member of it doesn't have to be a chair?
I'm
What?
okay with that.
So I think the reason we did it was because all of the other folks that are identified are chairs of committees. You could go through your processes and name a chair. You would also have access through the town manager if it's problematic to name a chair. Or I guess the board could decide that all three of the members can seek leader.
I think it's worth noting that all three are elected. And so that's kind of different than the other boards listed here where they're not necessarily elected. So that could be the reason that we have those not being the chair. It's just the local school committee.
Well, we're elected and we have a chair.
Yeah, but we all have access individually to
access.
MMA.
Yeah.
Oh. Personally, I'm okay with going through Shannon if that would make things easier. I just don't know when, Teresa, we try to meet with the principal, and I don't think we have another meeting scheduled for a while. So if it would be easier to just say, we'll, ask Shannon if we have questions. And
Thanks,
well,
so, does anybody on the select board have any strong feelings, Henry?
I suggest we leave it just the way it is. And the next time you meet, elect a chair.
okay,
And before then, if you've got a legal question, go see Shannon. But it seems like you would have a meeting to determine that you had this legal question at which you could elect a chair.
sounds good to me. That makes sense.
Okay.
Can
That's
I-
fine, me too.
While we're on that, I don't know, Shannon, about the lawyer that we're retaining through the consultant. Is that somebody we're going to be able to talk to directly, or do we go through Shannon for that too?
You should be able to go and talk with them directly.
Okay.
As far as contracting with the attorney, I have not submitted that back to Dan yet. Just I had reached out to MMA also, just to confirm that I would be signing on as that,
Okay,
as a contractual agreement. Yeah,
so we won't contact them until you tell us we can.
okay.
Thank you.
So back to the legal counsel section in the bylaws, and I'm a bit. I don't really want to drive the local school committee processes in order to meet the select board bylaws, but by the same token, the reason we limited things was to try and control the cost of legal.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's only 3 of them and they are elected, so I don't know, Steve, you have strong feelings either way?
No, I just think we should wait, and we've already decided we wanted it that way, so let's just get them to meet whenever. In the meantime, we're all in agreement with everything else anyway.
We need to clean this fish and get it off our plate. You do that by leaving it the way it is.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion to I lost my agenda, to approve the bylaws?
I move to approve select board bylaws as presented.
Second,
Any further discussion? Any comment from the public? Those in favor? This is 4-0. Next in the old business, sort of the local referendum in November for land use ordinance. Shannon, what can you tell us about this? Or remind us about this?
So this was a request at the last meeting, just asking what the select board wanted to do as far as putting forth the land use ordinance updates. They were originally slated for the town meeting in June, and they did not get considered. So the land use ordinance, that includes some code enforcement officer updates. It includes a heavy use industry definition. And it also includes the fee schedule, I believe, for the solar farms. Not the solar farms, for one thing. What was that? It was only a $25 change. But there was the 3 things on the land use ordinance updates. And so it was just asking the select board if you'd rather do a closed vote when residents come in for the general election on November 3rd. If they just pick up a local ballot and check yes or no, the day's passed. Is that something the select board would like to do, or would the select board prefer to have a special meeting? Town meeting?
You have an opinion, Henry?
well, either way, you have a special town meeting.
Yeah.
You have a special town meeting that you hire, or you get a moderator and you just have a secret ballot referendum election. Or you can have a special town meeting where people come and vote. And so I guess the issue is, do we want to do it by a secret ballot referendum, or do we want to have people come and vote? If we have, I don't know if there's going to be anything else that we need to bring up to the town. I think we might find later out in this meeting. But my question is, what else? Let's say we say yes, then what else happens? What happens next?
Well, then I'll take it back to the town clerk and get the timeline, and then she'll post it up for absentee requests.
Yeah.
And then get the ballots prepared.
We need to sign an order that says certain things, referring this matter for a referendum election to the town clerk. And when we act on it, we ought to have that to sign. And we can do that anytime up to the first meeting in September. So, I mean, we can vote that we want to do it, but we still have to vote on an order referring it and sign that.
Can I pause for a second?
Yeah.
Let me just, for the record, acknowledge that Tom has joined us, so we now have the full select board. Thank you. So there was a timing constraint that we had to do something by the last meeting in August. And then approve it in the first meeting in September.
If you want our legal counsel to review the warrant, you're gonna make a warrant. If you want our legal counsel to review the warrant and the order referring it for a referendum vote, then we would need to do that by the last meeting in August in order to get his comments back in time to actually do it by September 1st. That was the August requirement.
Last meeting in August being August 18th.
Yes, ma'am, I believe that's true.
Is there a strong reason for or against doing local referendum for this versus a special town meeting?
If this is the only thing that we need to have the town to act on in the near future, referendum vote is fine. If there turns out to be other things that we need the town to act on in the near future, then we need to decide, do we add those to the referendum election? Or do we have just a special town meeting? Like the one we had when we approved the funds for the final payment on the ports project. If you recall that, we had one then. It was, I think it was Shannon's first day at work.
Yes, it was.
Never forget.
And if the only thing we have to do is the zoning revisions, then I think a referendum vote is fine. There's paperwork that needs to be done before the 1st of September. And it's for us to do that at our meeting. And then we need to have a public hearing that needs to be posted and held 10 days before the election. If you do it with a floor vote, you got to get people to come in. However many show up is the town. If only 2 people show up, they're the town, and they vote. And you don't have any hearings or election business going on.
Well, it seems to make sense to combine them just in terms of getting a relatively positive number of people to vote on it.
Mhm.
And I don't see any negative to that.
No, I think if this is the only thing we're gonna do, and I keep saying that for a reason, if this is the only thing we're gonna do, then let's do it with a referendum,
And your reason is?
because you got an election anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, why are you hesitant about that?
Oh.
That something else might come up.
I think as we discuss the grant, we may find we need town meeting action on it. Which would be simple, but it just may need to be done.
So we can vote on this for a local referendum, given the knowledge that we have on the table right now. And then
Yeah.
if we need to,
But yeah, sure.
at some other point in the agenda, change that, we can,
Mhm.
we can revisit it.
Yeah.
Because we can change our minds with more information. So would somebody like to move the question to hold a local referendum for the land use ordinance?
I'll move to hold a local referendum for land use ordinance updates in conjunction with the November general election.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion?
Part of working on a lot of them, so I'm fairly up to speed.
Those in favor? Those against? 4-1, motion carries.
The only reason I was against is because we need to do the paperwork at the same time that we approve it.
Shannon, any concerns about the paperwork?
I will have it ready for you at the next meeting. I wanted to know which direction you wanted to take.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, moving on.
Comments on questions?
I will take a comment.
So the only question I have is, this is a referendum, so it does have different rules from town meeting.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering whether, because it's a referendum and you allow absentee voting, whether you'd have to have the public hearing on the issue before before the absentee voting starts, not before the town meeting vote. It's just a question, no opinion.
I believe the answer is it's 10 days before the meeting. And I agree with you, that seems weird, but I believe that's the answer.
People that already voted, something they didn't understand, so I'm just.
We can send it to MMA and ask them, but you asked the question, it's a good one. I think the answer is 10 days before the meeting.
Shannon, did you get the question from
Yes,
Doug, who didn't identify himself?
yeah.
Doug Stevens. Town of Wayne resident,
I will call you that.
town meeting parliamentarian.
So you have the question that Doug wants answers, and you can take that to MMA.
Yep.
Thank you. My apologies for not opening up to that question. Okay, on to new business, and we're gonna have an update from our enforcement officer, our CEO. Angelica, could you introduce yourself
Certainly.
and tell us what you got?
So I think I've met most of you here. I'm Angelica. Some of you in the audience I've met. I'm the new code enforcement LPI for Wayne. I work in Wayne on Tuesdays and Thursdays, same schedule that the previous code enforcement had. So that's all the same. Email's the same, phone number's the same. First, I did want to ask you guys as the board, if you would prefer that when I brief the board, that I just brief the board, or would you like a written report?
Can you do both?
Of course, yeah. So let me write that down. So I'm getting settled in. Getting settled in, there's a lot of administrative stuff that I'm trying to track down, clean up, organize, get things a little bit smoother. I think there's a lot of documentation and tools that I can use to make things a little bit easier to navigate. I've done 4 building permits. I've had 1 plumbing permit for the month of July. I've only been in for the 1 month so far. I've gone out on several inspections, both for some of those permits there that I've issued myself. I've gone out and looked at some trees at different people's properties, a lot of shoreline properties with tree issues. I've gone and looked at those. I'm including now a tree permit. It doesn't cost anything, but that way we have something to put in the property record, because there are statutes around that too with shoreline properties and how many trees you can take down in a given time and percentage wise and all that. So I've created a new permit for that. It's more just for the town to track and keep track of that through different code enforcement officers. Let's see, building, plumbing, stairs. I've gone out, looked at some stairs. People like to have their stairs that go down to the water outside, which has been pretty cool to see, because I get to go and visit a lot of really cool properties. Everybody in Wayne also has been really welcoming and very kind. Administratively, I'm doing an ordinance review. I'm going through each ordinance that the town currently has, and I'm trying to look at the history of those as well, so I can get familiar with them. They're very different than what I have in the other town that I work in. So I'm getting familiar with those. Kind of looking at things that maybe can be condensed or combined, certain ordinances that are out there. And I'll go over that stuff with Shannon before I bother you guys with it. But I do think there might be some room in here with certain ordinances to kind of either combine them or simplify them. Like we have like a barking dog one, and then the animal control. Well, as barking dogs mentioned in animal control, can we kind of like simplify that? There's let's see, the special amusement permits specifically, there's 2 of them currently. There's one that was passed, I think it was 2023 that we looked at, but there's another one kind of floating around, and I want to get those. They both have some good qualities to them, so I also want to bring those together and condense those, and I'll be bringing that to you guys for approval as well. And with that, actually, I've also created a compliance letter, because we do have in our ordinance that a compliance letter from the code enforcement needs to go with those special amusement permits. Oh, let's see. I've been driving around in circles, getting familiar with Wayne. It is such a pretty town. I was able to get to the Lad Rec Center today without my GPS, so pretty impressed with myself there. Let's see. A lot of filing to be done. I got a good start on that. The land use revisions that we've talked about, I did talk with Shannon about that and found out that the grant money that we used for the 360 code is good for the next cycle as well. So I know that we have this potentially going up in November, but there'll also be room for more improvements at the next revision cycle through that, which is really cool. Let's see.
Can you talk a little bit about the transition between the you and the previous CEO and any properties or compliance things that he was working on and what
Yeah.
the status of any of those are?
Yeah, so there are a couple that I'm aware of. I believe he had discussed things with them before I came in. He showed me where those were and what the issues are. I haven't followed up with them quite yet. I wanted to get with you about that first too. Um, but he did go over a couple of those with me, yeah. Yeah, I was able to come to Wayne, I think 2 or 3 times to work with Chip while he was still here, which was really helpful and he did help me get familiar with the area and stuff too, and brought me to meet a lot of people, which was great. And some of those current issues, I also met with those people too, so that will be coming up soon, where I'll be going to visit the ongoing offenders, I guess, and see what we can do to get things legal.
Other questions from the board?
No.
Any public comment on that? All right. Thank you very much. I should have said in the new business, we have a number of items that are a bit related. So when we go through these, it's if something seems to be related to an item further down, we will try and navigate you into the right agenda item. But that is the CEO update. Thank you. So next we're going to talk about the 30 Mile River grant. And Shannon, are you going to tee this one up?
I can start over with that. So back at one of your select board meetings in April, I came and just let the select board know that 30 Mile River had reached out to the town, requesting that the town put in an application for the 604B Department of Environmental Protection grant. It's for $80,000, and it would basically be similar to what we just did with our community action grant for 75,000, with 30 Mile River acting as the consulting group, or excuse me, the group that would administer the project and oversee that. So they would also develop a steering committee, just like the community action grant did as well, composed of some of the different partners. We currently have several committees involved in work on Androscoggin Lake. And so that's what this grant is really to do, is to help do some research into the pollution that contributes to Androscoggin Lake, to do some research into the Dead River Dam, and partnering with the Androscoggin Lake Improvement Corporation, with the committee that Doug Stevenson is on, the Dead River Dam Committee, just tying a lot of those together. They'd be looking at deliverables to include a 9-element water-based management plan, a 10-year action plan. And so that was at the end of April, and I requested more information from the executive director of 30 Mile River, and upon some of those questions being answered, we went ahead and put in an application. It was due the following week. And so it was indicated to me that it would be very important, given the current status of Androscoggin Lake and the algal blooms, to go ahead with that. And so Leidy Robbins is here today. She provided an executive summary for you. You have a 2-page document included in your packet. And so that's just outlining the project, some of the funding, and you've also already received the request for applications, the grant application that was put in back in May, as well as the award document pending contract approval and negotiation, or pending the contract. So I'll turn it over to Leidy if you want to go ahead and kind of elaborate a little bit more on your executive summary and what this really entails.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. You covered a lot of things that I don't know if I have as much to say, but great. I can give a little bit of background. I think that most of you are probably quite familiar with the problems that Androscoggin Lake has been experiencing over the last 5 years. So starting in 2021 with an algal bloom, it's bloomed now 4 out of the last 5 years, turning the lake green, making it unswimmable and spoiling recreation. Last year was the worst algal bloom, where it was the water clarity was so low that it was considered to be a harmful algal bloom by the DEP standards. So back in 2021, when Androscoggin Lake first had that most recent bloom, 30 Mile ramped up its water quality monitoring efforts, working in close partnership with ALIC, who has volunteers that do a lot of the monitoring with us. So we ramped up those efforts. We have been collecting a lot of data on the water quality, but after last year's harmful algal bloom, it was clear that we needed to do even more work to conduct an even more thorough scientific analysis of the lake to understand what are the causes of the bloom. So this grant project that you have an opportunity to fund through accepting this $80,000 grant from the DEP would fund work that has actually already begun. So we've started some of this work this summer. The budget for this grant is covering the period of time from October 1st through the end of next year. Through 2028. So the work has already begun. With this summer was an important time for us to begin doing a lot of the field work. So we've already been out there doing that work. As Shannon said, the ultimate goal of this project is to produce a watershed-based management plan that would meet the EPA's criteria for having the 9 minimum elements of watershed-based plans. It would build on work that we've already been completing over the last 5 years. The summary outlines 9 of the tasks that are in the grant. And these are different from the 9 elements in the plan. It just happens to be coincidentally that they have 9 in each list. So just wanted to clarify that. So the town of Wayne would be the grantee. 30 Mile has received 5 other DEP grants over the years for work on Androscoggin Lake and Parker Pond, totaling about $600,000 through another grant program called the 319 grant program. What's different about this program is that only towns are eligible to apply to actually be the grantee. So the money has to go through a town. So that was why I approached Shannon about the town of Wayne being the applicant in this case. 30 Mile would essentially do the same level of work that we've done on all of the other DEP grants that we've received. The differences were we wouldn't be the grantee. We would be under contract with the town of Wayne, but we would administer the grant, do all the reporting, the invoicing, the tracking, actually conduct the project, hire the contractors. So it's a very light lift for the town. Very minimal work for Shannon. When we put together the budget, I talked with Shannon about the amount of hours that would be required of her. And so there's an estimate in here of $1,200 for staff time for a match from the town. The summary does provide on the 3rd page a breakdown of the match that would be involved. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that because I think there might be some questions about that. So at your town meeting in June, the town approved $15,000 to support this work that we're doing. The data collection, the scientific analysis, working towards this watershed-based protection plan or watershed-based management plan. So the town approved $15,000. 10,000 of that 15 is included as match for this grant. So the other 5,000 would cover work that has already been would have been completed by the time this grant starts. So 10,000 of match, a similar situation for the town of Leeds. They approved $5,000 at their town meeting. So 2,500 would cover work prior to the grant starting. 2,500 would would be matched. ALEC has also pledged funds and has already contributed funds towards this project. They pledged $25,000, so 10,000 of that would go towards the match for this. And then 30 Mile has received a grant of $25,000 from the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund and is also working with our partners on the steering committee, including ALEC and the towns and other town residents on a fundraising. We'll be starting a fundraising campaign to raise the additional funds that are required. So there are no additional funds required from the town beyond the $15,000 that you've already voted on. So the $80,000, approximately $80,000, potentially even a little bit more than $80,000 that we could get from the DEP for this project would come through the town and then would help to pay for the services of 30 Mile staff and of the consultants, of lab fees, analysis, all of those costs that go into our project budget. To address a couple of questions about how this grant works. So the grant money is not received upfront, it's a reimbursable grant. So as the work is conducted, as expenses are incurred, 30 Mile tracking all those expenses, 30 Mile would prepare invoices that we could submit on the town's behalf to the DEP. The DEP would then submit payment to the town, and then the town, once receiving that money from the DEP, would then disperse that money to 30 Mile to pay for the expenses that we have. So there's no upfront cost for the town. The funding comes, as it's needed. We can submit invoices to the DEP as frequently as we want. Typically with the other grants that we've done, we do them about monthly, or depending on the expenses of the grant, sometimes it's not as frequent as monthly, but we can submit invoices as frequently as needed. And then there's a relatively quick turnaround for the funding to come from the DEP to the town. Let's see, what other questions? Yeah, as far as the match, what the requirements are for the match. As I said, we've done this with all the other DEP grants that we've done, and it's the same with this one. So we would track all of those expenses in a pretty simple spreadsheet form that the DEP has. And as we submit an invoice, it's pretty straightforward. We list how much money we've spent, how much match has been used, what we're asking for on that invoice, with a list of the expenses, and then submit the invoice. It's pretty simple, two-page process that we've done a lot. So I think that probably gives the basics. There are a lot more details in the 3-pager and even more in the 20-page grant proposal, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask questions.
Is on your other 319 grants, you were the grantee, correct?
Correct.
And under the terms of your grant, the grantee awarded subcontracts to the consultants, et cetera, that you had performing your work. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in the past, with those other grants, we have had consultants, but primarily those sub-grants that we award, there weren't subcontracts in that same sense. We paid funds to road associations.
Okay.
Like the Androscoggin grant that we're working under right now. We gave money to the town of Leeds through this grant to do road work to several road associations on Androscoggin Lake.
So the 30 Miles engagement under these agreements was to basically issue sub-grants. Is that what you're telling me, correct?
Well, no, I mean, we were doing much more than just
Okay.
issuing sub-grants. We were conducting work, we were doing
Yeah.
road evaluations and road designs and road plans and site inspections and coming up with, we were doing
But-
a lot of the work ourselves.
Okay,
In
and you
this
contracted
case-
with others to help you?
Primarily, we did the work ourselves.
Okay.
Yes.
in this case do I understand that the town is, the grantee in this case will be entering into a contract with the state? And that under that contract, we agree to have certain work performed and deliver certain reports and plans. Is that the
So-
deal?
So as the grantee, yes, there are
Yeah.
reports that are
Mhm.
required. As I said, 30 Mile would be writing all of those reports
Yeah.
for the town. So the town would not, when we've done this with other towns, we've had several other grants that we have done with towns where we wrote the proposal, the town was the applicant and
Mhm.
grantee, received the funds, and we did all the work.
Are we gonna be the contracting party with the state in this particular case?
In this case, the town would have a contract, yes. The
Okay.
town is the grant.
And it's with the state?
Correct.
I think that
Main
was a
department-
requirement on the RFA,
Yeah.
wasn't
It's
it?
the main department
Yeah.
Yeah.
protection.
Now. Who's going to sign the contract with the subcontractors in this case? You have professionals that in your proposal are listed as subcontractors, is that right?
Yes, so 30 Mile can essentially act as the general contractor. The DP does not require, so we already have contracts with two consultants because as I said, this project is already underway.
Okay, so under the terms of the grant contract that we're about, well, when will we see the grant contract? You guys are gonna negotiate a contract, correct?
Yeah, so the way that this process always works with all of these DP grants, and as I said, we've been
Mhm.
through it 5 times before, is that there's a period of several
Mhm.
weeks where the DEP and the EPA provide some input on the work plan.
Mhm.
Oftentimes from the time that the grant was submitted, so when the project would be started, some,
Mhm.
some changes have occurred, and so there's a revision process in that work plan that takes a few
Mhm.
weeks.
Mhm.
And then once that is finalized, then the contract would be signed.
So when one of your consultants sends a bill for his work, he sends that to you
Yes,
and you pay it?
yes.
And then do you send us a bill?
And then, no, so then we would then submit the invoice. We would submit the invoice on the town's behalf to the DEP.
So the
The
town
DEP
doesn't have to show that they incurred the liability before DEP reimburses us?
So as I explained earlier, the invoice process is quite straightforward. It requires a simple table where you list, these are the expenses. So we would list, 30 Mile staff time, X dollars, this consultant, X dollars, lab fees, X dollars.
Mhm.
And you total it up. These are the expenses. You submit the invoice to the DEP, they send the money
To who?
to the town,
Okay,
and then the town would then.
now, but the
reimburse
town, okay, and so the town doesn't have, does the invoice that DEP is paying on, does that have to be directed to the town?
Town invoice.
That's yeah. Who's liable to pay the subcontractors? Is the town have to incur the expense before DEP reimburses the town? So, okay, so the town doesn't have to incur the expense before DEP, okay?
That's
Okay.
stated in the summary here that the expense.
So what comes up on a warrant, when this money comes in and now we're gonna send some of it to you? Guys, what do we have on our warrants?
30 Mile River watershed.
Okay, and what account does that come under on our budget accounts?
We would probably create one just like we did with the community action grant.
Okay. And this is gonna go on for a long time, well, over 3 fiscal years.
I wouldn't expect that we would have that money any longer than we receive it
Okay,
to maintain a balance.
okay.
So the difference from the court project was we actually had to fund it and then get reimbursed. What I'm hearing from Lainey is you fund it,
Correct.
you submit the invoice on our behalf. The DEP
Reimburses us.
reimburses the town of Wayne. And then we'll put it on a warrant to pass it back through to 30 Mile River.
Mm,
So we don't have a liability in there.
Correct,
And we have a contract with you.
correct.
Okay, so we're gonna have a contract when we sign this contract with the state, we're basically gonna have one subcontractor, which is you.
Yes,
Okay,
and then we will hold the contracts with the other consultants that are already engaged with us.
I just want to understand that point. There's two contracts. Town of Wayne contracts with DEP, because that's the requirement of the grant. Does Town of Wayne also contract with 30 Mile River to be essentially our general contractor and do the work? So we
Yeah,
have
there's a standard, contract the DEP has for having a subcontractor.
and in a general sense, like you're gonna be you're a subcontractor, but you're really would be a general contractor on it.
Because we have other.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
doing a lot.
And that's a normal way they do business.
So yes, we're
Okay.
doing a lot of the work ourselves, water quality monitoring that we're already doing, stream monitoring, Dead River monitoring. We'll be doing that work ourselves. And then there's other, as far as writing the management plan and doing the data analysis, we have already contracted these outside experts who really look at the top in their field. to do this work.
Who does ALEC and Leeds pay? They
Us.
pay you,
Yes.
okay?
Mhm. And then that $15,000 that was approved by voters also the town pays us.
So the grant goes through 28, but the Town of Wayne's commitment is just this year. And the rest of the funding for the work that you're gonna do is within 30 Mile River.
Correct.
There's no expectation you're coming back to the town and saying, oh, we started this work and now need more in next year's budget.
We will be doing some private fundraising from individuals to cover the remaining costs.
Thank you.
Nice.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so does this create an ongoing obligation for the town, the work that you're doing? Like, will we need to find other revenue sources to cover the work that you're doing after this grant is exhausted? Or is the work kind of one time in nature?
One time, yeah.
One time, okay. And then I also just wanted to understand a little bit better how the match works. Like, is there a match rate that is stipulated in the contract? I work in Medicaid, so I understand how much we have to put forward to get the federal funds.
Right, so the match, yes, what's the percentage? No, it's much lower than that. That's a good question, and I'm forgetting what the match, I know that this,
Right, that's
what we included in here with the 48,000.
So that 48,
So 48,000. In the match, like met the match requirement, it actually exceeded the match requirement.
okay,
I can tell that, I'm drawing a blank on the percentage.
There's a point in the application itself where there's a question, says, does the application contain a local non-federal match equal to at least 10% of the total project cost?
Yes,
okay.
it's much lower than the 319 grants that we worked on, that's what I was trying to
Right, yeah.
blank on it, but yes, so yeah, and then your other, did that answer your question, or was there another question about?
I just wanted to see, like,
Quantifying the match.
if you raised more money through donations, like, could we draw more federal funds, or is it capped at the $80,000?
So it'll be approximately 80, like that'll
Okay.
be, what we can.
And then I just wanted to say thank you, because my kids swim in Amscoggin Lake like every day at the yacht club, so I'm thankful for the work that we guys do.
Any other questions on Leidy's report? The next thing that will be up will be accepting the grant. But are there any other questions for Leidy on her presentation? Or grant in general?
Could I ask a question?
I believe so.
So when you consider the motion, I would ask that you also consider including within that motion that you allow 30 Mile to manage this grant on the town's behalf. You include that within the motion.
Can I ask a question on that? Like, I don't think we have like any RFP requirements, so like once we accept this grant, like RFP it to any other organizations. I don't know if there's any other organizations that would do this work, but would that be a requirement?
I think that they already have the ongoing progress in this project that you are able to waive that
Okay.
specific to this.
Okay, that's fine, yeah,
Yeah, the DEP does not have that.
okay, perfect.
I'm just thinking logistically how to get through B and C together. I think we've completed the presentation. We've transitioned into considering to accept the grant. I'm not sure that it's a grant award for Androscoggin Lake algal bloom. Is it more about? Can you help us refine those words? It doesn't seem like what I read in the RFA. It was a grant for pollution control projects and water-based plan development. Is that more in line with the grant that we're accepting?
You could. I think you could use the grant title, which is the Androscoggin Lake Watershed Based Plan Development Project. So that's at the top of the summary, the third line.
Is that written down
Right.
somewhere?
Written down.
You got it, right?
Because it's not, just,
WEMP.
research is part of it, yes, but there's a lot more to it than research, so. I would change that to say that, to accept the 604, also may want to say the DEP 604B grant for the Androscoggin Lake Watershed Based Plan Development Project.
And allow 30 miles to manage.
And allow 30 Mile River to manage the grant.
Yes.
You asked to add that too.
I think, and subcontract with 30 Mile River to provide management services and financial controls regarding the grant.
That works too.
Yes.
That's more specific.
I don't know if you can restate that, Henry, but then you condense it into subcontract with 30 Mile River to
Manage the grant.
manage the grant.
And be responsible for compliance with all aspects of the grant.
Is that included in manage the grant?
Hey,
I don't.
your contract is with the state. The state looks to you, the town of Wayne, to perform. The state don't care who you subcontracted to. The state's not looking at 30 Mile River. The state's not looking at any of the consultants. The people who are responsible is the town of Wayne. And we have responsibility to the town of Wayne to ensure that they are not incurring any potential liability in it. I love this grant. I want to do it. I want to do it right. And when we get to select board discussion, I'll have a few comments on that.
Just might put your mind at ease
Yes.
a little bit, but we do have a long-standing relationship with the staff at the
Mhm.
DEP who administer these grants, and we've have a very successful track record.
Mhm.
And
And
I
it should,
think are quite respected
Yeah.
by the DEP, so I do think that, we will be the ones communicating with the DEP,
Yeah.
doing the work on the grant. So
yeah, and so I'm not worried about you engaging with the town to accept full responsibility and liability for that because of your good relationship with DEP.
All right, so I want to get us into a motion that we can have some conversation, discussion about. And there's a lot of blue ink over there. Did you get it?
I got it.
Can you make a motion?
See if I got it right. Check me. I'd like to make a motion to consider accepting the 604B grant award for Androscoggin Lake Research and entering into a contract with the Department of Environmental Protection for the work on Androscoggin Lake consisting of watershed-based plan development and subcontract that work to 30 Mile River Association to manage the grant and be responsible for all aspects contained within the grant. We can boil that down.
I,
Suggestion.
so I would just take out the part about, I would replace that part about the research and say to accept the grant,
Sure.
the 604B grant for the Androscoggin Lake Watershed-based Plan Development
Okay.
Project.
So refer
I
to
like
the
that.
title.
We made it shorter and. take
And then you don't have
the
to
title
have
out.
all those other
Steady.
things in there, because it's already, that's the project.
Yep.
So can you restate that?
Try to consider accepting 604B grant award for watershed-based plan development. You with me there, lady? You want
Androscoggin Lake.
on Lake
But-
watershed-based plan development
Project.
and
Project.
subcontract to 30 Mile River to manage the grant and be responsible for all aspects contained within the grant. Aspects of the grant.
35.
Do we have a second on that?
Second,
Thank you, Steve. Okay, any discussion? Henry, you wanted to have some comments?
Yes. I like this grant. This application was submitted in May. I would be not saying anything if in June on our warrant, we would have a warrant article to the town that says, do you accept the 30 Mile River or do you accept the DEP grant? Do you establish an account that will be non-lapsing? And that account will be funded by $10,000 for purposes of the grant payment, not a $15,000 unrestricted contribution to an outside entity. And I think we could have done that, and it could have been fine. We did not do that. We still could in time. I would like to send this to our lawyers and ask them about the funding. When a warrant article comes in, or not a warrant article, when a accounts payable warrant comes in that says write a check to 30 Mile River for $26,000, whatever. That should come out of an appropriation that was made by the town. And the town hasn't made an appropriation for this. The town should have appropriated the fund, set up a fund that would have grant funds added to it and any other contributions added to it and can be distributed by the select board without further action by town meeting. Hey, I could be crazy. So I think we ought to send it to our lawyer and see what they say. And if someone says that's a better way to do it, we can do it. That's the case where I would suggest we have a special town meeting with a floor vote. And we discuss it and we adopt the article. And if that happened, you'd probably want to put the zoning in the same special town meeting,
Got it.
just like we had a special town meeting to pay the final bills on the court project.
Shannon, have you had an opportunity to float this up to the lawyers yet?
I did.
Okay. And what they say about the funding?
So he is looking at it. I have a meeting with him later this week just to discuss any other things on it.
Any initial concerns from him? Or you didn't?
No, I mean, we do have other grants that we've received through the town, as well, like the Housing Opportunity Grant. That's for 15,000. That's to implement the legislative, direction that we receive for housing and implementing that into our land use. We have not created a special reserve account for that. We do receive additional little grants from the state, for safety, for the Ed McDonald risk, grant as well. We've received 2 of those. And I think it comes down to the management. And I mean, if we don't meet that criteria at the end of the year, for spending, then it does get sent back to the state. But I mean, aside for the housing opportunity grant
Oh.
or for some of the other ones, then, there are certain criteria for different ones, but we haven't set up any specific grants, accounts for any of those. So moving forward, I don't think that we'll have any concern, but once I talk with Phil later this week, I can get back to you on that.
So what was we had an article about accepting grant funds on the
Mhm.
on the warrant?
Yes.
Does that not cover this?
Well,
Or is that?
the article
question that-
says you can accept grant funds if it does not impose additional if it supports existing appropriations or town programs, and it does not impose additional obligations on the town beyond those covered by existing budgetary appropriations. And I suggest that for the board to approve a grant, it should only after finding that those conditions have been satisfied. And these other grants you're talking about, we should be approving those too, under this same warrant article.
Yeah. accepting the
And
funds.
yes,
Yeah.
accepting the grants. My concern is we did not have an appropriation of the $10,000 for this grant. We had the support of outside agencies appropriation of $15,000. Maybe Phil will say that's fine. And if he says that's fine, then it is. Yeah, we have an article and that's what it says. We can accept grants that support existing appropriations or town programs and do not impose additional obligations on the town beyond those covered by existing budget appropriations. Another issue is, I guess if the funds are not going to be received until the bills are due, that sort of solves the issue of having a non-lapsing account. So if we give if the $10,000 goes to 30 Mile this year, then the non-lapsing account issue is not a problem. If we were going to get $80,000 to put in the bank and spend that between now and December of 28, then it would be a problem.
I think the condition about having it be mapped to an already approved town appropriation exists because of the work that was described when we went through the $15,000 that we were voting on at the town meeting for 30 Mile included 10,000 to do exactly this work. And in a sense, 10,000 has now turned into 20,000 with the matching funds that we're receiving via the grant. You may say we're creating that convenient reality, but it is the reality.
I say ask Phil and whatever he says is fine. That's what I say. And I can't vote yes until that, but that won't matter.
That makes sense. Should ask Phil.
So we have a motion on the table that doesn't include legal. So we have to decide what we're gonna do with this motion as worded.
Or we might want to reword it anyway. Or with a little more thought. So we can withdraw the motion pending, and we'll leave it on the agenda, but pending legal guidance on if this is appropriate, given the conditions that would allow us to do that.
Are there any time constraints that we have to? What is the time constraint in which we would have to accept this grant?
So we'd need to complete any revisions to the work plan in the month of August, and so then we would need to be signing the contracts in September. So the grant can start October 1st. So if you're able to, I can come back to your meeting in 2 weeks if you want to talk about it further, if you have other questions. If you vote on it next, in 2 weeks from now, then that would still work within the timeline. I guess the concern would be is that if you determine that you need to then hold a special meeting, I'm not sure that there's time to make that happen before the deadlines to be able to accept this money. And it would be a shame to turn down $80,000 to put towards work to restore the health of Androscoggin Lake, which is a really important asset to the town. So
I just say that.
I would have liked to have seen our application in May and I didn't. And this isn't your fault, but then I would have asked the questions in May. But when can we see the contract that we'll be signing?
I think I could probably get you draft of the contract to review?
Yeah. Cause that may be, that may be great, and I would have no questions at all, but I do believe that needs to go to Phil also. The contract that we're going to sign. So how, we can get a draft of that?
It's that, the DEP and
Yeah.
and send a draft. It was their
Great.
standard contract. that they
Okay.
would
Mhm.
Use for all the grants.
Okay,
So before we make a decision, I think what I'm hearing is, Tom, you can withdraw your motion. Shannon can get feedback from the lawyer this week. Lydie can send us a draft contract and come back in 2 weeks for us to reconsider this. We table it until we're meeting in 2 weeks. But before we close this out, I'm gonna see, is there any comment from the floor? Yes,
Mark Burwell, Lane.
good
I
job.
just have a question, and it might be a silly one. If Leidy incurs a bunch of costs and then she submits it to the DEP or whoever, a few years ago, wasn't all the grant money like suspended or canceled, or is the town then liable if the grant got declined? Like, what happens if they just shut off the grant? Didn't that happen not that long?
Yeah, so it did not happen with any of the DEP grants.
It happened with a lot of grants.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the risk that 30 Mile would take, because then we wouldn't be getting paid.
You'd be picking up the bill, not the
Yeah, we
town.
wouldn't be getting paid, right?
Any other
Question.
comments
you.
from the floor?
also, do you have a sample contract? Like you are suggesting the town would have with you?
Yeah, because that's the DEP's standard contract. that-
No, the contract between 30 Mile and the town, standard subcontract?
Right, that you would need to use with subcontract.
Okay. Can-
So I can
can-
send that to you as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just as a property owner on Androscoggin, I just want to, first of
Can you
all.
just identify yourself, Jim?
Oh, Jim Brazil, Davis Point Road, right around the corner on Androscoggin. And we've been property owners here now, renting here since 1968, property owners since 2003. And I want to thank you for your involvement in this, because as property owners who continue to invest in our properties on Androscoggin, and having neighbors who rent properties who've had renters canceled now because of all the algae problems. I talked to our tax assessor last week, and he's fully anticipating to see reduction in property values, which is gonna impact the town. I think there's every reason for you to be doing exactly what you're doing. Well, thank you, and encourage you, move post face to address the issue.
All right.
I have a question. What specific information are you looking at from the attorney
Can I send you something?
in addition to the other questions, or is it the same? Because I already sent him the questions that you sent.
Okay,
Is there anything additional
it's,
or something specific? So that way, when I come back to report back, you know exactly what I'm reporting back.
can I think about it and send it to you?
Yeah,
So I think the questions you originally sent, you've got answers, so. no point having-
No, yeah, some of these questions are not even Phil questions, and actually, most of them were covered by Leidy in her presentation.
so I guess I'm just trying to
Yeah.
clarify what is exactly going to the attorney and what's holding up the vote to go to the attorney right now.
The concern there was,
Is the appropriation of, hang on,
You'll need to, it's gonna be a subset of this, but it's also gonna be, my
I
opinion,
think the question.
what it is we already
was
authorized at town meeting.
Was the town meeting vote back in May, in June sufficient
Yeah.
to consider to be an appropriation under which this can be committed?
that is one, yes. And another question is, when we're making these payments, do these payments need to be made from funds that have been appropriated by town meeting? And by appropriated doesn't mean raised by taxes. Appropriation just means that the town sets an amount, sets a purpose, and says where the money's gonna come from. So just like the articles that we have on the Ladd Center and the Farmers Market and Aging at Home, the town appropriated $1. And it said, plus any other funds raised through contributions. And so I could tell, it's going to be laborious if you ask an old man like me to come up with the questions right offhand. So if you want some questions that are good and address what I'm asking for, I'll have to send them to you tomorrow or the next day.
So this is scary, but I think I understand your point. And I was guided by your comments. I think the concern is on the warrant, we talked about $15,000 for the algal, which was used in reference to this. We're only gonna use 10,000, but we're gonna receive 80,000 from the state.
There needs to be an appropriation for that, I think.
It's the 80,000 that you're.
Well, and and the 10 would be part of it, but let me look at our town meeting here.
But in warrants, we'll be approving $80,000
Yeah.
over time,
Yes.
going to finish the river.
Yes.
No money coming through the town, but the
Yes.
town should vote to go to the recipient.
It's covered under your grants article.
So that's the question to the lawyers is it covered under that grants article? And if we can refine the question first thing in the morning, I don't wanna chew any more time on this.
I just want to clarify, so if there's any grants that come through them, do I need to ask the attorney if it needs to be set up with a specific account through the town meeting?
All right, well, this question is about appropriation, right? Not necessarily
I'm just clarifying.
holding tank. But that's another one to consider.
That's what I think about with the
The-
housing opportunity.
The question specifically on the $15,000 is an appropriation of $15,000 to an outside agency. The note about algal research is not part of the warrant article. Notes are not part of what's being voted on. I'll rely to our resident moderator about that.
They could use it for any purposes they want.
Yeah, they can use it for any purposes that they want. And my question is, should we have something that says the town votes to establish an account for this grant, transfer $10,000 from the amount appropriated to the 30 Mile, and add any other funds received from grants or donations to be distributed by the select board for these purposes without further town meeting action. That's what I'm trying to convey.
And this would be.
There's no budget item for the $80,000 that we're gonna get.
And you're looking at me, but
Yeah.
I think the other article that you have about accepting grants covers that whole issue, but that's for the lawyer to tell.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
And I mean, introduction to this issue, should we call people to vote on it, is great news. You've already heard an explanation of where $10,000 that what we would
Yeah.
contribute towards would happen. Well, we have more money from outside the
Yeah.
town to add to that. We want to do right by
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
consensus, right? So we need to create a vehicle to put this money in so that we can do this properly.
And
It's a good thing, but process says
So-
we should do it.
So I think we can move this forward. I think we've got a sense of the question that needs to go to legal, which is whether or not the town has to vote on it or whether it was
Be
covered.
nice to avoid
Yeah.
that, but we
So
have to.
can I suggest that we move forward? I think we need to withdraw the motion and table this pending legal advice.
I just want to inject one more thing. I'm all for this. I want to see it. Let's get it done. And in the end, we're going to get it done. I'm just suggesting, we had these tennis courts and it came time to do the last payment and we weren't able to make the payment without having a special town meeting because it wasn't done right in the first place. And maybe this is being done right, but let's talk to Phil and find out.
Yep.
It's okay.
Red tape. So we have a motion on the table. We're gonna move this motion. We're either gonna withdraw it or we're gonna vote and
No, I'd like to withdraw the motion with a lot of language that I used earlier, if that's acceptable to do it that way, so that we can revisit this the next week.
And Lady, you'll send me those contracts correct, or send them to Shannon and she can forward it to me. Thank you.
Move the second withdrawing.
Second to withdrawal.
Second,
Do we have to vote on that? I'm looking at my resident expert over there.
Yes.
We do have a vote,
If it's a motion, you do.
we're voting to
You could
withdraw
have a
it.
friendly withdrawal, and not have it voted on.
Huh?
It's up to the person who seconded it. But it can be withdrawn.
They agreed to second it.
Then, if the person who seconded it agrees to be withdrawn, and the person who moved it agrees it can be withdrawn, it's not up to anybody else to get involved.
All right.
We can move on.
Move on.
Thank you for my little process reminder. Coaching. Agenda next time, Shannon, please. Okay, moving on to D, discuss the Dead River Dam Committee request for representative. And I think this is probably going to be a somewhat short conversation. Am I teeing this one up, Shannon, or are you?
I mean,
Huh?
if you want to go over the letter you received, or I can summarize it if you'd like.
Oh. How about try to summarize it and you fill in the details. So the long and short of it is that Commissioner Beal from Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, Commissioner Loisem from Maine DEP, Dwight Buckley, Town of Leeds Select Board, Hazel Stevenson, Town of Leeds, Town of Wayne Select Board. I think it's. And there was a copy to Commissioner Peabody, who is
IF&W.
thank you, IF&W. We received a communication that was sent from the Dead River Dam Maintenance Committee with some history of the Dead River Dam maintenance and some characteristics and its purpose and its management and a little bit about the current lake conditions, ending with a conclusion that decisions need to be made and action needs to be taken on the future maintenance of the Dead River Dam. And the committee was concluding, I'm going to quote a little bit, concluded unanimously that the status quo of maintaining and overseeing the Dead River Dam through citizen volunteers and lack of stable funding source is no longer sustainable. So what they were requesting is these stakeholders commit representation to engage in dialogue to propose a plan. Because we have so much work going on with the lake, and I'm looking at Leidy and I'm looking at the CEO, and I'm thinking that your work will encompass some of these concerns. Is that a fair assessment that I might want to?
So our project will not have any, will relate to the management of the dam. That's really a separate issue. So we'll be looking at what is the impact of the Dead River on the lake, which does, that part of it does relate to the dam, but as far as how the dam itself is managed and who's managing it and where is the money coming from, that is not something that our project will be including.
And also out in the audience, we have Doug, who has a steering committee. Is this something that will be considered by your steering committee?
No, not at all, because the steering committee is actually just an organization. It's a collaborative organization that brings other people together to focus on issues. You could argue that should come under the steering committee, and it's certainly an item on the list, but we're more concerned about, as Leidy says, the impact of the river coming in and staying in. The Dead River Dam operations may or may not have, the specific operations may or may not have any impact on that. I would turn to, I think Ted's here. Ted's on.
I'm moving around the audience.
Well,
I'm getting to you, Ted.
You've got several different organizations focused on the lake, and they all have different little aspects of it, but we collaborate, so Ted can probably give you more.
So Ted, you wear two hats.
Yes.
So could you introduce you?
Ted Tucci, 74 West Acres Road. I'm here in my capacity as a member of the dam maintenance, the Dead River Dam Maintenance Committee. So first of all, just to get to the question of who has responsibility for the maintenance and operation of the dam currently. That falls under the aegis of a contract called the Memorandum of Agreement. The town of Wayne is actually a signatory to that contract. And it basically says that it establishes a dam maintenance and oversight committee consisting of 5 representatives. The DACF, the DEP, a representative of Wayne, a representative of Leeds, and a representative of the Lake Association. And that memorandum of agreement is the document that specifies that this existing committee is responsible for the day-to-day maintenance, repair, and oversight of the dam. There are no state funds that are associated with that responsibility. The funds come from a settlement fund that was established more than 30 years ago when pollution on the Androscoggin River from the paper mills was a huge issue. And Steve is nodding his head because Molly knows all about this. And that settlement fund has served its purpose well for the last 30 years, but it is now diminished down to $18,000. So basically 2 good storms and we're going to be out of money to maintain the dam. So we have a situation where there's a dam in Leeds. It affects residents in Wayne when there's overtopping of the dam, floods occur, roads are overtopped, creates public safety issues. So obviously, the committee's perspective is that Wayne, as much as any other stakeholder, has an interest in the future of the Dead River Dam and how it is to be managed and who is to pay for it. And so we've come to the conclusion that this model that's worked well for the last 25 years of basically having a committee established by agreement where all the work is done by volunteers funded through a settlement fund is really at the end of its useful life. And so the only ask tonight is that the town of Wayne designate an appropriate person to be part of this group of stakeholders who have an interest in the dam to talk about what are we going to do 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, to figure out a sustainable solution to make the dam operate in the way that it was intended and to make sure that it's safe. And I neglected to introduce your representative on the dam maintenance committee, who's Lloyd, who may have comment.
I was put on the committee because I was interested in the subject. Now that I'm not a member of the select board any longer, the select board will want to consider if they want somebody else or if they want me to continue. I'll continue until you replace me. But that's basically the story. The story is the dam is overarching the whole thing. And it is a question of what maintenance requirements are going to be and what the long-term approach to financing it. It's a totally different world than it was when it was built. It was really essential to keeping a lot of full pollution out of the lake. We don't have that pollution anymore. We need to assess what it is doing. And there are different schools of thought about that. And we hope that this research these 2 people are working on is going to shed some light on that. But we would like you guys to specify some stakeholder who could speak for the town and who could at least as the draft memoranda and draft materials about this, bring the things back to you to resolve them when it comes up, which may not be for several years yet. We don't know yet.
So to the table.
Excuse me, Lloyd, are you available to continue your role on the committee? And would you be agreeable to that?
Yep.
Then I would so move. I don't know.
Other questions or comments from select board? Steve, are you about to tee up a motion?
Yes. I make a motion that Lloyd Erland continue as representative to the Dead River Dam Committee.
second that.
Discussion?
I think continuity can be valuable at this time, rather than us stroking our chins for a while to figure out what we would do.
And you're
As an
happy with the burden,
alternative.
you're happy with the burden, okay.
Any public comment, Mark?
Question.
Wait, Mark
I
first.
have a
Mark first.
Jim
Who's got
Brazil.
something else?
Mark first.
Sorry, you're running here.
I would just question that choice and what is gonna be talked about in the future of this meeting, I believe.
That's a different agenda item. Jim?
Question, I have a copy of the memorandum of agreement at home and used to serve on the Daily Dam Maintenance Committee for a number of years, spent a lot of hours down there, so I appreciate the value of the dam. The question of what's going to happen if the dam is not maintained and falls into a state of disrepair impacts what you're doing dramatically, I think. Because anyway, does anyone recall when the memorandum of agreement expires?
So it expired a long time ago, and then it was reconstituted and it's recently signed as of 2023. So there's a new one in effect.
Thanks, Dave.
Do you know what the end date is on it?
I don't believe it has an end date, or if it does, it's at least 5 years.
Ted, do we need engineering input on what to do with this thing?
That may well be. I think that's one of the items that hopefully when this stakeholder group gets together, all these questions can be put on the table. The dam was built in 1931. As everybody knows, essentially, it has not had any significant work done to it other than the flashboards that were installed in 2003. So there's a lot of issues to look at.
I would think that there's been a representative, Lloyd's been a representative, you guys, I don't know how frequently you get together and you talk about issues. But I would think, given the current situation, you guys would be looking to now formalize things like a very near future readout to, here's some initial assessments, here's some help we might need specific to an engineer looking at it, right? So I would guess that anything that's just been so casual, not to suggest anything other than focus, is gonna ramp up with some activity.
So
Well,
before
I mean,
we,
I would just want to comment in response to that. The key thing here is, and I appreciate on behalf of the committee, the town taking quick action on this. I'll just be very candid with you. I mean, I don't think Wayne and Leeds are gonna be the problem. We need to get the state engaged in this. And that's why, really at the suggestion of the committee representatives from DACF and DEP, they suggested addressing this to the highest level of both departments. That's why we wrote to the commissioner.
I have a quick question. For that memorandum of understanding previously, who signed it?
I will get you a copy because I haven't looked at it.
Okay,
It was signed, we went through a laborious process of, it had lapsed and essentially the committee was operating without an agreement for 10 years or more. And we went through a whole process of redoing it and getting it signed by all representatives of each stakeholder.
okay. I didn't know if that's something that would have to go to town meeting, kind of like an interlocal agreement.
I think we need to get the MOA and see what it agreed with, what it says. You could send that. My comment on this is, I mean, I think when we put people into positions, committee responsibilities or whatever, you're gonna get tired of hearing me say RACI. I really want to have, and RACI stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulted, Informed. It's a little acronym that IT people use all the time, but it's super helpful. I think if regardless of the vote, when we put somebody into a position, I think we need to have an agreement or I don't want to use the word charge because that seems to trigger people, but we need to have a document that lays out what the representatives expectations or accountabilities are, including, reporting back to us or decision-making authority.
And the select board might very well be on that RACI chart, and we would be the ones that would have this assignment and the committee themselves, right?
Right, so I'd just like to make sure that as we're committing a representative, we're clear about what that role
No
and
confusion that
responsibility
everything's
is.
sitting on an individual's shoulders.
Right. Any other discussion? All right, let's move that to a vote. Those in favor? Those against? There's. Moving on. Keeping track of the time. What's on the agenda? I was gonna lose track of these papers. Okay, I am going to tee up the next one, assist from Shannon. I'm gonna get my words together on this one.
Do you want me to start?
Huh?
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
So a couple of weeks ago, I sent an email to the select board, just letting you know that there was a request, for from one of our residents regarding mailers, that they'd like to send out to the town, requesting waterfront residents, to present any missing documentation from their property folders to the town. And that included the HE 200? Yeah, E200, which is a septic plan. So we've also had someone working up at the office collecting that data over the past couple of months. And so in that email that I sent out, it just kind of gave a breakdown showing what was missing and what needed to be included. And then it was requested to be on the agenda for August 4th. We are now here at the August 4th meeting. Last week, a letter went out to residents on behalf of the town. And so I'm just sharing some concern, just because I had seen a draft, but it wasn't this draft. And this draft had some discrepancies in it, including the spelling of my name being on there. But it doesn't include like a phone number. I mean, there's some language on there that might indicate, saying you're not in trouble, but it does mean that you need to submit things on the town. So my concern with it is just that it was scheduled to come to the select board, and I think it went up prematurely. And so I'm just bringing this to your attention for awareness. I've reached out to our town attorney as well. Doesn't see any significant concern with it, but we have received several calls since they went out. Approximately 200 mailers went out last Thursday. A bunch of people started getting them over the weekend, and we've started receiving calls and people coming up to the office just this week and today, saying, what do we need to bring in? I don't have this. How am I going to get this? And I didn't necessarily have a good response to it. I don't feel that I was prepared. So I didn't know if the select board wanted to make any kind of statement, or if you had any kind of guidance on that matter.
So I'm gonna jump in because I think that there's a process problem here and a potential policy issue when a mailing or a communication goes out that is not coming in front of the select board. It wasn't approved. It was signed in the town manager's name. Town manager didn't even see it. I think if she'd seen it, she would have spelled her name correctly. So without, I think, and the conversation I had with you, Shannon, is I think the town needs to put a communication out about the status of this letter, that it was sent prematurely or it was an unofficial communication. And that if residents have questions that received it, then they should call the town office. I believe you've got a letter that's been drafted that the lawyer is looking at, or a communication. And that I'm looking for the select board to weigh in on a communication that we put out that says this was basically whether or not it was premature or whether or not it was approved. They need to make that statement so residents know what to how to handle it.
Is this a code enforcement plumbing inspector matter?
Right.
Well, it
Okay.
is.
Okay, so,
So that when the request came, could it come on the agenda?
yeah,
My conversation with Shannon is please ask that to go to the CEO. And absent that happening, it wasn't coming onto today's agenda.
okay.
So
But the letter went out without your coordination.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, that's amazing because I
Aware of it.
worked on it and I was assured that it was with your approval. So I don't know how that happened, but we can have a chat with the fellow who.
Well, I don't want to get into
Yeah,
personnel. This isn't a personnel
Okay, just
conversation.
saying.
This is excuse me a minute, this isn't a personnel conversation. This is, the town needs to respond to the residents about a communication that came out that was not approved. It was not an official it was not an official communication. And, in principle, we can't have, people putting communications out supposedly coming from the town without going through a review process.
You're
That's what I want to
Yeah,
respond to.
you're absolutely right, Hazel. And if it's a CEO LPI deal, why don't we have the CEO LPI send something out to these residents that say the letter went out prematurely? You'll be hearing from me in the future.
Well, I think it's, yeah, the CEO,
Or through the town manager. I mean, but
Or the assessor, because they're listed too.
thank you. In my opinion, this needs to come from the town manager representing the select board.
Yeah.
Because
fine.
while this might
Yeah.
have been a CEO
Yeah.
issue, the next one could be,
oh, you're right. That's
it
fine.
could be something entirely different. It could be somebody representing,
I think that's fine.
so that's what I would like to have happen is, that we make the statement that is going through legal review and post it through our communication channels. I don't want to target the people that received it because I think that is going to be more widespread by now. And I think we're not going to pay for a mailing.
No, just put it on the website. Is that what you have in mind?
I'm suggesting we make
Or the
it
blast,
available
the website and a blast email?
on blast email, website, if you want to post it
Okay.
on the notice boards that we use for noticing. So what I'm looking for is, any select board comment about that, and if you're on board with the communication that says it was not approved and that they should, if they have the documentation that was requested, they can call the CEO about that, or the town office. But in the meantime, there's no action needed.
No question, it's gotta go out, in my opinion. Something's gotta go out. Basically, we were hacked. We were hacked. Communication went out that says it came from town manager. It did not come from the town manager. So anyone who.
Well, I would,
Manager's name on it,
I would say, I'd just say the letter went out prematurely.
Okay,
It was nobody,
Yeah.
can I just say, make a few remarks about that? It was not, we were not hacked. I was told that this letter was,
Yeah.
had been reviewed by the town manager and by the CEO. And we decided that it had to go out because we wanted to make sure that people, where summer people got the chance to have it while they were here, rather than in a couple of weeks when they might not be here.
So respectfully, I'm gonna end the conversation. Communications representing the town can't just be sent out without review through the select board and the town manager. That's,
have any individual signatures at the bottom of an email, that person has to personally either send it or authorize the sending. It can't be through a grapevine. It can't be anything else. If my name's at the bottom of something and it goes out someplace, I want to know who sent it by them. And it's just common sense.
so select board, any further conversation about this?
You need a motion on this?
Sure.
Okay, I move that the select board directs Shannon to send out a communication indicating that the letter in question was sent out in error. And no action is required by the recipients. You might want to put an aside on there, though, if they do happen to have the information referenced in the letter, they can bring it by and give it to our code enforcement officer.
But have the information.
Is there, I'll second that. Any further discussion? And I'm not gonna seek public comment on this one. Those in favor?
Shannon, is this letter what you think should be sent out?
So I did draft that. I sent that to our attorney. He did approve that.
Can we say something like, sorry for the misunderstanding? We don't really like apologize.
I think it's good to say thank you
Okay.
for understanding.
Okay.
Hey, I think it's
I'm
good.
okay with it.
I think it's good. Did we have a second on my motion? If not,
Yeah,
I
Hazel
want
seconded it.
to, okay, because I'd say just send the letter.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. All right, Shannon, can you help us navigate into the next agenda item, which is the tax commitment rate?
So I didn't print off a copy for myself, but you should each have a copy of the tax commitment worksheet provided by our tax assessor. And that's Rob Duplessis through RJD appraisal. And so we came back to you with 3 different mill rates. Last year we had a mill rate of 11.9. This year, setting it at a low of 12.45, a median of 12.5, and a high of 12.55. If you look at those overlays, or if you look at the documents, closer down to the bottom on each one, you'll see what the overlay would be. Realistically, we would like to have a larger overlay. But we understand that we also want to keep taxes low, so the recommendation is to keep it right in the middle at 12.5. And our assessor did provide a little overview for you, breaking it down with what it would look like for a $100,000, a $200,000, and a $400,000 home, based off of last year's mill rate, and what the proposed mill rate would be at 12.5. And so just showing what the increase would be for each of those valued homes.
Any questions from
And
you?
the
or-
agenda item is consider setting the tax commitment rate.
It is.
And once
And
you
did you
set,
get the handout? That's a big one.
I'd love to.
and our tax collector would really like to encourage you to set a tax rate tonight, so we can commit those taxes tomorrow. And then get those bills sent out, and start collecting.
That is part of the motion. Right?
Well, we need to. Do you have a commitment warrant for us to sign? When you say get the bills out, don't we need to sign a warrant to the,
He just needs to know, he said, what your rate would be, and then
okay, when do we sign the warrant to the tax collector?
the warrant to the-
Or you sign a document, maybe I'm calling it the wrong thing, but you sign a document to the tax collector that says go out and collect these taxes. And bring them back by a certain date.
I believe that was in the annual town meeting. Voted on by the town meeting with the
no.
tax collection dates. That was already set.
No.
But the assessor just asked specifically for the mill rate.
No,
And that's all this is being.
yeah, this is just setting the mill rate.
So
That's
we
all.
set the mill rate and then there's other work that happens and then
We
next
got-
meeting, Shannon will come back with the paperwork that we have
Yes.
to sign that authorizes the tax
Yes.
collector.
Yes.
I do remember signing
Yeah,
something next
And,
year.
and the only reason I say it is because the taxes don't go out to, we need to sign another piece of paper, I think, before the bills are gonna be going out.
So I think it's a 2-step process. We can set the rate
Yeah,
and then
That's fine.
Shannon can go and work with the tax collector to determine what paperwork is needed
The assessor
Yeah.
will be in
for
tomorrow,
the assessor.
what is this?
pending your
What is this here? Is that the town
setting.
report?
What's that?
What is that? Is that a town report?
Does somebody want to make a motion
that's all right.
so we
No, no,
can start a
okay.
conversation
Yeah.
about where we feel about
Is that
tax
town
rates,
report?
mill rates, sorry. So the recommendation from the treasurer was, well, she would like us to get more money. In the overlay, she and the assessing agent, I believe, both recommended the mid-range, the 12.5.
Yeah. I think this overlay at 12.5 is just fine. Unless there's some kind of a serious. I mean, it seems uncommitted reserves or undesignated reserves seem to be okay based on her last report to us, and I think the mid-range that he recommended is perfectly fine. It's a municipal tax assessment warrant. There's one in the old town meeting that has to be signed before they go out, and there's also a certificate of commitment.
So we vote tonight on the rate and then they do their paperwork and we sign the warrant next time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I move that we set a mill rate of 12.5. 12.5.
A second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? They're looking pensive.
For a $400,000 home, that's $20 more a month.
Any public comment on this one?
Anybody want to pay more?
You want to pay more, or you would like to make a comment?
Mark Burwell on the road committee, and we continually have a cash flow issue when it's construction season, so I think we need more in our savings account. And I don't know how you get there, but if 12.55 gets a little more in the savings account, probably not a bad idea.
Consideration from the select board? We don't have to respond to him, but
I think,
that's an opinion.
I think it's just fine the way it is. I think this year we spent everything in the road account that was available. And actually there was blowback from the infrastructure committee about the amount being spent, and that not enough was being held back. I mean, the money that has been collected is pretty much going to be spent. Is that true, Shannon?
Yep, we're just talking about the final negotiations for the ditching, and not the ditching, for the aprons, the added gravel, and one other thing.
And
Strictly talking about the cash flow,
But yeah.
no, but
not
That-
complaining about.
no, but the cash flow, we wouldn't be able to award the contracts if we didn't have the cash flow. And now the amount that was appropriated this year for the road reserve, the $250,000 for the road reserve that was appropriated this year, that gets collected between now in what, January? When's our last tax collection?
April.
April. That gets collected between now and April. And so even though they voted for it, we won't have it all until April. And then
So
that
that's
should
the-
be
that's the-
available to
that's a
spend in the
different-
spring. Yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah.
different conversation. That's about roads and infrastructure and the current cash flow. I've got to come back, and my limited, I think I finally understand this, the overlay is what's used primarily if somebody comes to the assessor and we have to do excuse me?
An abatement.
An abatement, thank you. You can tell, these are my words, an abatement. And at the end of the year, if there's any money left over in this overlay account, that is what goes into the
General operating.
general operating budget. And as, Lynn, and she's gonna come at our next meeting, she'll talk about the fund, what's that thing, the fund balances?
The fund balance.
These are all in alignment with the generally accepted principles on how much the town can carry over. And so the motion on the table is 12.5 unless, there's any other conversation, I think we can vote on it.
It's been seconded.
Those in favor for motion of 12.5? Motion carries. Shannon, move us on.
So the last one is just a housekeeping item from the town of Winthrop, just asking you to sign off on the medical transport plan that's for their ambulance. Chief Moretto from the Winthrop EMS just received some guidance from the main emergency medical services, just requesting that the towns that they serve to complete this municipal resolution and have that available. Just the housekeeping.
So is this a simple motion as suggested in the agenda? So move to approve the emergency medical services transport plan municipal resolution as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? Those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Oh, this is always the fun part of the day. So let's go over the ground rules. If you could please give your name, and we're going to try to manage the time so that we're not here till a very late hour. And if you've said your piece, please let everybody else that wants to speak before you come back. And if you really agree, but you just want to say, well, I really agree with what Frida said, You can say, I agree with what Frida said. You don't need to restate everything that's been said before.
Who's free?
There isn't one. But I used Fred last meeting.
Gotcha. I knew there was no.
Okay, public comments. Yes.
So I'm Frida. Joe Stevenson, I'm here to report on the work of the Androscoggin Lake Steering Committee, which I come from time to time. I got 4 good, happy news things. First of all, the lake is still blue. It's August, but it's blue. I think it's still blue. Secondly, we had a really interesting and supportive presence at the Strawberry Festival and the Leeds 225th anniversary celebration. The Keeping It Blue booth was well attended. We were there beside Gaelic and 30 Miles, so we were good company. I was very impressed with the number of people who came and actually knew something about lakes and the lake, and they offered a lot of good ideas. A highlight for me, and maybe Ted gets the credit for it, but Ted actually offered a blue ice cream that Tubby's made specially for us to support the Androscoggin Lake called Keeping It Blue. It's a really good frozen blueberry cake ice cream. It's fun to serve, isn't it, Ted, on a hot day? But
after a while.
that was good. The
If we
third
get out
thing,
of here really quickly, Doug, we'll actually be able to hit Tubby's on the way
yeah,
home.
you might think that. I still have some.
Just saying.
Yeah, so the third thing is we've all the work that's been done on getting grants and things is leading toward a budget for this year. So the committee now has a budget for the year. And we will, now that we've been through good news on all the grants that we applied for, we will be starting down the road of a individual interested persons campaign, not just for the lake people, but the community-wide Leeds and Wayne. And that will start sometime in the next few weeks. And we expect certainly to raise the rest of the money that we need to meet the budget for this phase, which goes through next year. And the fourth thing was the most important one.
KJ.
Huh?
KJ.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Dave. Geez. The KJ is very interested in what we're doing, and they're going to come out tomorrow and have a lovely briefing at the side of the lake to talk about what's going on with this committee and with this town and Leeds to actually move the condition of the lake forward. So that's something to look forward to. I mentioned it to you because I don't want you to be surprised. Nothing may come of it, but I do expect she's very excited. She wanted to bring a photographer. She wanted to work on the placement of this, where's Lighty? The buoy, can I defer to lot, can you talk about the buoy for one sentence?
One second.
The buoy?
Tomorrow, we will be installing a high-tech buoy that will track water quality data.
Live stream, right? Live stream?
Live.
This is really a big deal.
Right?
Yeah.
So, end of my report. Thank you, Frida.
Thank you, Frida, for your contribution. Any other public comment? Jim?
Another one, and I really want to thank Doug,
Freedom.
Whitey, all of the local folks who have grabbed this thing and run with it, because I was very impressed with the presence at the Strawberry Festival. The meeting you had at the church that I attended via Zoom a month or two ago, but I feel good, confident, and it really heads up local who the heading this time. Thank you.
And 4 of us are here. Lynette's here, Ted, Lighty,
Yes.
and everybody else is here in spirit or comment.
Any other public comment? It's because I laid down the 3-minute rule. I know it was. Okay, moving on, Shannon, you're up next.
So, there
And you
was,
split your report into road commissioner
yeah,
and town manager report.
so there was a suggestion, I don't know if you want to keep that on there, but as a road commissioner, I'll just give a quick update. Last week, Pool and Tree completed their tree limbing and brush removal on 6 roads. We did receive a lot of positive calls about it, and so we do want to thank them for their hard work and putting that out there. Getting that done. Next week, we've got Pike Industries are going to be placing equipment and beginning some ditching and culvert work and prep for paving. We are currently tentatively looking at closing Fairbanks Road for the 12th and 13th, and potentially closing Hardscrabble on the 14th and 17th, pending final negotiations and discussions for culvert replacement for cross culverts on those two roads. We are tentatively planning, oh, I just said that, and then speed control devices, that was something that had come up previously. I did reach out to the infrastructure committee regarding speed tables and speed humps. Infrastructure committee in general just did not seem supportive of physical barriers on the road, but instead recommended something more along the lines of road painting. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, Mark. But that's what I seemed to get was more of some kind of traffic calming painting. And along the same lines, I did get some email correspondence from library staff saying thank you for the crosswalks, that traffic calming on that road did seem to help. So I did assure them that once we repave that, then we will get that repainted on there. And we are currently looking at other kinds of designs that we could have to help slow traffic on Old Winthrop Road in that area.
Including signage
And
and
signage.
law enforcement?
Yes. Okay, we'll look into that a little bit more, but that's what we had primarily gotten from the infrastructure committee.
Yeah, and I had a question, and I don't know the answer. My truck tells me the speed limit. It's not always very accurate. I don't know if anybody knows how that truck gets that information.
Yeah.
Because maybe if we don't have it where it needs to be, I don't know how it gets there, but
I'll have to talk with the state about that. We don't set the speed limits.
no,
But
I'm
yeah.
saying my truck thinks.
It's in the
speed
GPS.
I
limit.
think it's in the
Yes,
GPS, it's in the map, in your map program,
Okay, but why is it telling me I can go 45 on a 25-mile-an-hour road?
because it's wrong.
How do we make it that? Is it my truck?
I don't
Maybe his
think,
truck.
I don't think that's a town issue, but,
Yeah.
but,
No, it's not.
That's all I got for the commissioner.
Goes to the speed limit.
hello, don't make me wave my little gavel, please.
Now I can put on my town manager hat.
Hang on a minute. I do think there's a question that I see back there that I'll
Yes.
take.
To Clark, just a clarification for hard scrabble, you said it's gonna be closed, is it August 14th? Or
Yes.
17th?
We're looking at next Friday and the following Monday.
So just the 14th and then the 17th, not through the entire.
Correct.
And is that just for culverts or is that gonna be the paving piece?
So the culverts are gonna be the first part of it. So they're gonna, they wanna get their equipment in there first and get, that all put in and put in, they've got to dig up the old culverts. They've got to replace, and then they're gonna put in some other types of gravel and, compact it. And then they've got to, put in more layers of gravel on it. And then they're gonna be preparing the roads. Then they'll be moving into ditching along there. Excuse me, not on hard scrabble, but they will be doing reclaim. They're currently scheduled for the 9th, 10th, and 12th, or excuse me, 9th, 10th, and 11th of September.
September, that's what you told me, the paving, so.
Yeah.
And so hard scrabble will be totally closed to traffic or it will be one lane?
We're looking at closing it, so on the 14th and the 17th.
Okay.
So that way they can take up the whole
Yes.
culvert and then put it all in there, and it
Okay.
presents a cost savings
Okay. All right.
to do it that way.
Because I know, yeah, for those of us who are
Once
cut
we,
off.
once we confirm, I'll put out some
Good.
advertising to the town.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you. Continuing.
okay, nothing else for the road commissioner. So town manager, this past week, as I had noted earlier, we did have some IT issues at the office. So we did have 3 computers were upgraded with software up in the front office. That was including one of the front desks, the tax collector, and the town clerk. And then my computer also had additional disk space added to it over the weekend. We now have ATV and boat registration stickers. We just received some at the office today from the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. So anyone who previously came up to the office and was not able to register their ATV, they can come try again. Local road supervisory course. I did send out an email to the select board with a couple of professional development classes. I did hear back from Hazel with a recommendation out of the 3 that I had presented. And so I didn't know if there was any opposition, if there's any comments from the select board.
I think you should go.
I think Henry commented, he said he recommended anything that you want to take, I think, less likely did a
Yeah.
week ago or so, right?
Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
I did not.
Go for it.
Alright, so there will be 2 days in September and then another 3 days later in October.
Roads, go.
Yeah, roads. So supervisory classes and learning all the
Clearly, I
basics.
read it. like-
The learning objectives were pretty like.
Good.
Comprehensive looking.
Upcoming some dates, August 15th is the deadline for submitting a response to the comprehensive plan community survey. That's still on our website. That still can be submitted to if anyone hasn't yet.
Any stats on percentage of respondents?
I could reach out to Richard McCalley, he's the chair, and I'll ask him and I'll get back to
Curious
you on that.
getting
I don't know the exact number,
response?
but I can ask them. Percent,
You're gonna send the blast reminder out?
I can do that. Yep,
Well, if the committee would like you to do that,
yes,
maybe you could ask
absolutely.
them.
I think we still got a little time, so I'm just giving you a heads up before we get there. I think your next meeting will be on the 18th.
Right.
So this will be before then. August 16th, they'll also be having the community forum on the future of Wayne here from 3 to 5 p.m. And then August 19th, the local school committee, I believe, is having a forum. I'll have to get some more details on that. I haven't received that yet, so there will be a post coming up, I'm sure, online. But August 26th, the Wayne Elementary School Community Open House. They'll be having that at the elementary school from 6:30 to 7:30. And encouraging people to attend. And then last but not least, this Friday, our intern, so Sam McKee, will be flying to Wyoming on his next adventure. He'll be going out to pursue some EMS medical technician kind of experience out there for the rest of his summer and the early fall. So we'll be saying farewell to him this Thursday and just want to thank him for the hard work that he put in as a capital planner at the town. And so just thanking him, and if anyone would like to, we would encourage them to stop by and just say thank you and wish him well on his next endeavors. So that's all I've got.
Can I put a plug for the Wayne Options Task Force? So it's August 19th at the church. I'm blanking on the time, but 6:30. Thank you, Doug. But we're basically going to give an update about where we are with our Options Task Force for the future of Wayne Elementary School. So I hope to see all of you there. And I think there's a couple other agenda items.
It's live streamed, so
And
mention that.
it'll be live streamed. I think we're still working out coordination with Mount Vernon and how involved they're going to be. But it should be a good time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Couldn't wait till select board comments on this. Jumping on.
That was related.
That was fun.
Board member.
No, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're good.
Did you miss it?
What's that? Don't listen to him.
I have an answer.
Member reports.
Question
Not done
about
yet.
the survey.
Whoa. I'm
An
sorry.
answer to Tom's question about how many survey respondents we've had, it's 156.
Okay.
Not great.
There we go.
We want more.
Okay.
Surprising.
It is, actually.
In a town with so many opinions, you'd think more people would have responded.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Yeah, nice one.
On Saturday, August 8th, Aging at Home will be providing an opportunity for shredding of important documents. They're with shredding on site of Maine from 9 to 12 at the Wayne Community Church.
Quite right.
That is an enormous issue.
Confidential document.
Yeah, all the important documents that you don't want anywhere. Just-
Yeah.
All right, I caught a glimpse over there, but I think it's Lynette knitting, not raising her hands and feet. So I'm gonna keep moving with board member reports. Tom, what would you like to report?
Update on that transfer station situation. So I'm gonna get together with Eric Dyer, town manager in Reedfield. Just to just pull that together so that you guys can get some update. I did speak with Aaron at the transfer station. I asked Eric if he had any update. I haven't heard back from him on anything he might have heard about next conversation. Because we're supposed to get together as representatives from the different towns to discuss town sentiment. But that's something obviously we've got to get to be able to do it. So seems it needs a little jolt. As I'm just joining this, I'm curious what their cadence is and how we stay on top of this. So if everybody recalls kind of the issue, there would be an upcoming change with transfer station relationship with Eco-Maine. So I'll try to get that pulled together so that everybody's on the same page and it's not just me every other meeting, giving an update on somewhere in the future, we'll talk about.
So I think for planning purposes, we'll want to put that onto a future agenda.
Yeah.
So that you can come with next steps and.
Sure,
and
I'll try to get it
requests,
all together in the
grant,
next 2 weeks. I'd like to.
Distant issues.
Yep.
Okay, I'm actually gonna take a turn because we're gonna go around the table this way, so I do want to tee up that. We do have a lot of stuff on the agenda and I was trying to work so that our agendas are a bit more stable and predictable. For those who are interested in the status of the fire truck, that will be a conversation at the next meeting. Shannon and I met with the fire chief. So there will be conversation with the fire chief about the fire truck next meeting. That's really good timing because we're due for our treasurer report, so the treasurer will be here, so if there's any money conversation questions, we'll have her available. So, and then we've also teed up a whole bunch of stuff that we've carried forward from this meeting, so if you have other items that you want on the agenda, certainly send them in to the email so that Shannon and I can sort through and figure out, but if it's something that's should go to somebody else for a gatekeeper first, maintenance or whatever, then go ahead and copy us, but tee those up with them first, CEO, whatever. That's all I got.
Nothing.
Nothing for me.
I have an update on the plan committee and strategic planning process at the RSU. The plan committee met and discussed who was going to be on the strategic planning committee. If you guys remember, we actually wrote a letter advocating for equal representation of each of the 4 towns on the strategic planning committee. And I was told yesterday, I believe, that there will be 4 representatives from each town selected, so that will be equal representation. I don't think they've specifically pick the individual people. What I read was that it will be like a lottery, based on different classifications like parent, teacher, different things like that. So I don't think the people have been selected yet. But there were, I think it was 13 people who applied from Wayne to be on the committee. So the next step should be coming out soon.
Great, thank you. That's very positive. Any other board member reports? In that case, I believe
Motion to adjourn?
we can make a motion to adjourn. Make a motion to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn. I move to adjourn.
Okay, so for the record, can we
second?
make sure we got who made the motion, who made the
Yeah, I
second?
made the second. I think it was Steve last. I think.
As in favor? I thought you didn't want to adjourn. Okay, minute.
Unless-
Say.